and welcome. In the 1960s, Nigeria's economic growth was gotten from agricultural exports. Up to the mid-1960s, the country's share of world agricultural exports was more than 1%. Nigeria had a leading position in the world for its export crops. The country was supplying more than half of all traded palm oil in the world, than a third in granules all over the world, and more than a fifth of palm oil. Over the years, Nigeria's agricultural exports has been rejected in the agricultural market. But prior to this time, in the 1960s, Nigeria's agricultural exports contributed 60% to the country's GDP. But from the 20th century till date, this agricultural exports, what we've been gaining from it, has been reducing. In 1960, it was 60% contribution to our GDP, but by the 1970s, it had dropped to 48.8%, and by the 1980s, it had dropped to 22.2%. Due to this rejection of our agricultural exports in the international market, Nigeria is currently losing 539 billion naira annually, and this has caught the attention of NAFDAC. And that's my way to open your heart to today's show on Market Insights. So I will be discussing how to reverse this rejection of Nigeria's agricultural products in the international markets. So please join me after the break.
My name is Dr. Rafiu Oladipo.
My name is Baba Jalal Repega.
I'm Reverend Juliet Benite.
I'm Godio Didi.
My name is Professor Oladokun Sulaiman Olarawaju.
Sook News is on the ground, loading.
Very enlightening, very educative, and entertaining.
Thank you to Sook News.
So I'm happy that Sook TV has come into existence.
I'm happy to be here in the Sook News.
I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel and keep watching news that makes sense.
As Browning said, one's extension of one's reach should not exceed one's grasp, or what is heaven for. And I think Sook News is doing that.
Africa needs a voice of truth, and Sook News has become one of them. And get ready, get ready, get ready.
And keep watching.
Keep watching Zook News.
Keep watching Sook News. It's a place to be.
Keep watching Sook News.
Hold on. Hey. On today's show, we'll be having a discussion with a very important guest. His name is Prince Joel Bisong. Now, Prince Joel Bisong and I will be discussing on how to reverse Nigeria's agricultural exports to make it more standard, to meet the required standard in the international market. Prince Joel Bisong is an agriculturist. He's well known for his work in the agricultural sector, and he's very popular with his words in the agricultural sector. So we'll be having this discussion via Zoom. Please hold on while we link up with Prince Joel Bisong. Okay, hello. Hello, good morning. Good morning, Prince Joel Bisong. Can you hear me? Hello, good morning, Prince Joel Bisong. Can you hear me clearly? We seem to be having some audio technicalities. Okay. Okay, please let's go on this short break to resolve this issue, please. We'll be right back.
My name is Dr. Rafiu Oladipo.
My name is Baba Jalal Repega.
I'm Reverend Juliet Benite.
I'm Godio Didi.
My name is Professor Oladokun Sulaiman Olarawaju.
Sook News is on the ground, loading.
Very enlightening, very educative, and entertaining.
Thank you to Souk News.
So I'm happy that Souk TV has come into existence.
I'm happy to be here in the Souk News.
I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel and keep watching news that makes sense.
As Browning said, one's extension of one's reach should not exceed one's grasp, or what is heaven for. And I think Souk News is doing that.
Africa needs a voice of truth, and Souk News has become one of them. And get ready, get ready, get ready.
And keep watching.
Keep watching Zouk News.
Keep watching Souk News. It's a place to be.
Keep watching Souk News.
Welcome back. I apologize for that technicality, but we've resolved it now. So, I was about to introduce my guest, Prince Joel Bisong. Prince Joel Bisong is a food security advocate. He's an agriculturist. He promotes the export of Nigeria's agricultural products both in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. So we're going to be having him discuss this issue with us on how to reverse the rejection of Nigeria's agricultural products in the international market. So please hold on while we connect with him. Yes. Hello and welcome to the show, Prince Joel Bisong. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me now?
Welcome to the show. Yes.
Thank you so much.
I was
Thank
just
you.
talking about you briefly, that you are an agriculturist and you have been promoting Nigeria's agricultural reforms here, and you also support the export of Nigeria's agricultural products in the international market. You're also a well-known farmer, and you also want to promote Nigeria's food items and food crops to the international community. So welcome to the show, Prince Joel Bisong.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be on the show.
In recent times, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I could hear you clearly.
So in recent times, Nigeria's agricultural products have been facing a lot of rejection due to not meeting the required standard in the international markets. So due to this, we've been losing a lot of money annually because of this situation. So I would like to ask you, please, first of all, how do we start by reversing the rejection of Nigeria's agricultural products in the international markets?
Okay, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here on set with you. Thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Prince Joel Bisong. I'm the founder of GML Farms based in the FCT. Good afternoon, my viewers. Now, the subject of the day is very important and crucial to us from the smallholder farmers' perspective to the big commercial farmers. You will agree with me that currently the issue of consumer safety and environmental sustainability is paramount in whatever we do at the moment. There must be customer satisfaction, and then there must be environmental sustainability. The United Nations calls it the 3 Ps, which is people, planet, and profit. So whatever you are doing, whether it's in production, is in processing, is in manufacturing, is in advertising or distribution, it must be people-oriented, it must be environmental friendly, it must be profit-driven. And so the United Nations have also set up some of these conventions that helps to put countries in check so that whatever you're doing meets up with these standards. And when you don't meet up with these standards, your products are actually rejected when they come up to that international market. So it's been a case, we've experienced this case like in 2022, our beans could not scale through. We produced beans and our beans were all rejected and brought back to the country. And this is what a lot of farmers are experiencing. I want to say that there is a breach, what they call system breach. The value chain, the agricultural value chain, there is a fragmentation in the connectivities of some of this that disconnects in our supply chain. And so this disconnect in the supply chain affects the way farmers products are accepted at the market. So this morning or this afternoon, it's very important that the key players in the sector will begin to look at institutionalized framework. What frameworks do we have in the country that will help strengthen our supply chains, bring transparency in the supply chain, bring integrity and credibility in the supply chain? And that's the only way. And then we'll be able to educate the key actors. What is the requirement? What are the market insights? What's the international market looking for? Because these things are very simple. They give you their key requirements. And if you're able to meet them, then your product, you begin to enjoy that value that comes with exports. Believe you me, Nigeria export market as of 2022 stood at about 172 billion naira. That's the Nigeria Bureau for Statistics. And the market is huge, is enormous, that can help us generate foreign reserves and all of that. So my take this morning is that we must be able to begin to build strong frameworks, strong institutionalized framework that will see to regulation, see to enforcement. That is the only way that we'll be able to begin to look at and see some changes in the way our products are being treated, even in the international market. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that, sir. I understand what you have just described to us concerning how we need to meet, since we have already been given the key requirements for our products, for the products to actually meet international standard. We've already been given all those requirements. But still, we're still having these issues. It happened in August 2021. It happened in October 2023. It also happened in January 2024, this year. So it's quite worrisome. And at the moment, the country is losing over 500 billion naira due to this rejection of our products. So we would like to actually go further into this. Now, what challenges? We do have our regulatory bodies in Nigeria. For example, NAFDAC, the Standard Organization of Nigeria, Nigerian Customs, and the Shippers Council. So what efforts have they made to actually stem this tide of agricultural exports being rejected in the international markets?
Okay, thank you so much. That's a very lovely question. Let me start by saying that currently, Nigeria lacks a national quality infrastructure. We don't have a national quality infrastructure. And this national quality infrastructure is the body that is responsible for standardization. Okay, so if you don't have laid out standards, there is no bearing. You can't have a coordinate without standardization. Like in recent times, the United Nations came up with what we call the GAP, Global GAP. And Global GAP was designed to help participating members to have what they call protocols for production, whether it's primary production, manufacturing, or all of that. We need to come up with our own national framework. We need to come up with our own national framework. For example, why are our products rejected at the international market? It's very simple. Sometimes it's the use of chemicals in our production process. And these chemicals are gotten from the use of fertilizers. So when farmers are trained, okay, there is an alternative. If you are producing soya bean and there is high level of XYZ chemical in this soya bean, it cannot be accepted. So we don't have that framework. NAFDAC and the other regulatory bodies can only do so much. There's been an argument in recent time whether NAFDAC is a regulatory body or it has become an income-generating avenue for government. They become an income-generating avenue for government. Because when you go to NAFDAC, sorry to say, what they're concerned about is, do you have the money to get your license? So we begin to ask the question, there's been an argument, is NAFDAC still a regulatory body, or has NAFDAC become, an IGR for government, where government generates revenue without following the due protocol? So it's important that the government should look at having a national framework that will be able to define standards. If you want to produce soya bean, for example, this is how your soya bean should be produced. If you want to produce watermelon, these are the standards where you are able to produce your watermelon. Because without this, it will be very difficult for us to be able to meet up with the basic requirements that the international community will require.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you for that. But to delve further, I really like the fact that you said the government needs to actually bring up their own framework, their own guidelines as to how we should produce our products, that it will be how do I put this now? It will be accepted in the international markets. But I also like to state that how can the government, can you please recommend, how can the government support our agricultural producers to actually improve standards? Yes, we have the regulatory bodies, but I would like you to delve further into this. How can the government actually come up with a more sustainable framework that will be able to help support the agricultural producers so that they can give us standard products which we can export to the international markets?
Okay, so I'm not a government agent, I'm a farmer. Okay, so our role is to educate the farmers and also update government on expectations. But what I know is that government can help with subsidy on a lot of agricultural inputs. Agricultural inputs here has to do with what we call quality seeds, hybrid seeds. So when you have good quality seeds, the tendencies are that you're going to get a good yield. The government should also look at providing subsidy for inputs, like encouraging farmers into organic farming. When farmers go organic, the tendencies for chemical production is highly reduced. Government should also try to educate farmers. There's a knowledge gap, and this knowledge gap is what is responsible for farmers not being able to know what what the premium markets want. So government, through what they call the extension services, should be able to do what we call cluster market farming segmentation, where farmers in different places are able to put them in clusters, and you're able to educate them on what they call best farming practice. Best farming practice in terms of the seed to use, inputs to use, water management, and some of these simple things. If you look at the Global Gap document, you will just see that all they encourage is just ensure that you do simple soil analysis. So before you go into your production, you do your soil analysis. You know what minerals are in the soil, what chemicals are in the soil, and what you should do. When you do your soil analysis, you now look at the hybrid. What kind of seeds am I going to use? Are these seeds local seeds? Are they hybrid seeds? Then you look at the inputs in terms of, am I doing organic farming or inorganic? And if I'm doing organic, where am I getting my compost and all of that? They also look at more especially pesticides and herbicides. This is where there's a lot of chemical residue that is transmitted into the plants. because farmers try to manage pests. So they use a lot of chemicals. That's what we do as a company in GML. We've gone ahead to build what we call farming reserve areas. And these farming reserve areas is purely helping the farmers know what farming protocols to use. The farming areas are market driven. So we get, market signals from our partners abroad. This is the type of soya bean we want. This is the type of watermelon we want. Then we are able to produce on specification. So when smallholder farmers come to us, they get trained on our farm on hand trainings, and then some of them can subscribe to plots in our farm, and they're able to produce. That way they produce, use best practices. So from the farmer's perspective, this is what I have to say. But for government just needs to do more in educating and informing the farmers, provide them with, subsidize the build infrastructure like the road network. There's a complete fragmentation in the supply chain. There's a disconnect. So government has to just help us with infrastructure development, and when this is done, it will go a long way to help the farmers produce to meet up some of these requirements at the international market. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you very much for really explaining it further. It's well explained. But, this is the 21st century, so I would actually like for you to actually expatiate further. Most of the time we use technology to do our things. It could be work, whether we are working, writing, farming, teaching, we are all using technology now. So what role does technology have to play in enhancing Nigeria's export standards in the international markets? Because we know that in the implementation, like you rightfully stated, yes, the kind of seeds to use, what kind of farming method to use, but in terms of using technology, we know that technology will make things easier for the farmers who will then move the products onto the agro producers that would now export the products. So how can technology help to aid farming and also improve on the standard of our agro produce in Nigeria?
Yeah, fantastic question. So this brings us to the area of precision farming. Precision farming is already on the area of precision farming. Precision farming is already on the is part of the climate smart agriculture that it's already being deployed by most countries, even in Nigeria. So technology plays a critical role, like in delivery, market access, market linkages. We see where a farmer somewhere in Saminaka in Kaduna State is able to put his product on the internet, and somebody somewhere in Lagos, they're able to connect and trade. We're also seeing the introduction of drones for, clear data analysis, data processing. So with the drone system, young farmers, they have to do so much in a short period of time. You don't need to use analog means of analysis and data collation. With your drone, remote sensory cameras, you're able to get some of these data. As they come back to what we do, they are also taking advantage of technology. If you come to our farm zone, we all have remote sensory cameras where three actors can see exactly what is happening in the farm. We can tell where there is a stimuli that requires immediate attention. So we're able to tell. So technology plays a critical role. Smallholder farmers are native. They are still using the local means of production. So information is really needed at this time to be able to, there should be a transition process where they're able to be trained on how to collaborate their native intelligence with, the current move of ICT in the sector. But believe you me, it's a new market. It's working well. A lot of people are adopting it, and we also are adopting it, and it's going to play a key strategic change for the agricultural sector and our products locally and in other premium markets as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that. I am looking forward to a situation where, yes, I will be using technology on my farm because I'm all about technology. So I'm looking forward to that a lot. Okay, so I wanted to ask, going forward, how can a very good collaboration be achieved between the government, our government, and the private sector and international organizations in ensuring Nigeria's agro products meets international standards? I feel like a partnership between our government and the private sector and also with the international community will also benefit us a lot so that we can, because we have so much to offer and we know that this will generate a lot to our GDP in the country. So I would like to hear your thoughts on this, a partnership between the Nigerian government, private sector, and the international markets in ensuring that agro products meets the required standard.
Government is a large institution, and so you must get to a certain point for you to be able to gain government's attention. So oftentimes you see one smallholder farmer who is doing half hectare of maize, and they want government's intervention. Sometimes it becomes difficult. But I would say this: government has a lot of institutional framework that, like the Nigeria Agricultural Research Council, Nigeria Export Promotion Council. There is also the Ministry of Agriculture. There's Extension Service. So when at your state, key players can walk into some of these establishments and find out what is available. Recently, I was at the Ministry of Agriculture to see the Honorable Minister, and we found out that almost all key products have their value chain. Whether it's cocoa, there's a director. Whether it's maize, there's a director. Whether it's watermelon, there's a directorate for all of these, what they call key, what they call impact products. So when you go there, you talk to them, they connect you with off-takers, they connect you with inputs and all of that. But we'll always be interested when, it is on a large scale. So big partners who have the capacity can always work to government. But for smallholders, it requires non-governmental agencies like us and other women Nigerians to be able to go in there, bridge the gap, put these people in clusters, and then be what we call economy of scale, so that way they can gain the attention of the international partners. So thank you very much, and it's my pleasure being here once again.
Okay, thank you very much, Prince Joel Bisong. Please, we'd like to go on a short break now. When we return, we still have more discussions with Prince Joel Bisong. Stay tuned.
The Three Wise Men. Iconic sculptures and statues adorn major metropolitan cities of the world. In Lagos, Nigeria, the statue of three men designed to depict the state's cultural heritage and to usher in visitors and tourists into the ever-accommodating center of excellence is no doubt an astounding work of art. Originally built under the administration of Colonel Raji Rasaki, designed by Bodu Shodende in 1991 and standing over 12 feet high, referred to as Agba Meta or Aro Meta, the three sculptured chiefs were placed along the Lagos-Ibadan toll gate to welcome people coming into Lagos State. The statue called the Three Wise Men by many has become a major signature for the state. Three white-capped chiefs clad in white wrappers, knotted across their shoulders and with clenched right fists are shown in the artwork. The images fascinate and create impressions in the minds of visitors coming into the state, captivating the attention of visitors who look with keen interest, pondering on the messages which the posture of the engraved images signifies. The Three Wise Men has been relocated thrice from its original position at Ojodu Berger end of Lagos-Ibadan Expressway to Magodo area before its final relocation to its present site at Olowo Drive. The sculpture has suffered severe damages over the years and renovated. Bodun Shodende, through this sculpture, depicted the highest honor that can be afforded to anyone in the eco-greeting tradition. The three wise men, Arometa, Suk, Enlightenment.
My name is Veronica Nkechi Eze.
Charles Abana.
My name is Professor Martins Emeje.
Professor Sylvester Odion Akaine.
Keep watching Suk
News TV,
the best news channel online.
It's elevating, it's enlightening, it's educating.
Muhammad Ali found his root in Africa. Rumble in the jungle. I swear the king is humble. Jesse Jackson, O.J. Simpson, this is black history. Andrew Young visit Africa in the late 60s. Legend, Bob Marley make the life different. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X are big names. They fought for black Americans in the old days. We need same revolution in our own ways. Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, Mr. Jay-Z, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre and Eddie Murphy. American prosperity ain't complete with African poverty. It's legendary Idris Abdul Karim, and you are on to Soap News. You don't touch that dial.
And welcome back to the show. We're still talking with Prince Joel Bisong on how to reverse Nigeria's rejection of her agro-produce in the international markets. We've been having this very interesting conversation with him on how to improve our agro-produce in international markets, how we can collaborate with governments, how we can also work with the relevant regulatory agencies like NAFDAC, Standard Organization of Nigeria, and Nigerian Customs to make sure that we are exporting quality goods to the international market. So, hello, Prince Joel Bisong. Okay, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the show. Okay, so thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much for explaining further to us, and also for explaining further to us. So, going forward, how do we, countries like Ghana, countries like Kenya, African countries, Ethiopia, their own agricultural products have been accepted in the international market. So what lessons should Nigeria learn from those countries? Because I feel like we could actually work with them to actually know how they met the international standards to get their exports received and welcomed over there. Can Nigeria as a country learn from them?
Yes, definitely we can. Definitely we can. And it's very interesting to know that most of
Okay. Okay.
of the organic
Okay,
products
because
we use in our farms
we know that
is
these African countries, Ghana's cassava is being exported to the United Kingdom, to European countries. The same thing with produce from Kenya, and the same thing with Ethiopia. So what lessons can Nigeria learn from these African countries in terms of meeting the required standard?
Okay, that's a very interesting one. Like I was saying before, I was interrupted with my network. Some of the organic products we use in our farm, we import them from Ghana. And when you look at what Ghana is doing, all they've done is just to adopt global protocols. The global GAP is a new standard for farmers. The global GAP is Global Agricultural Practice. That's what it stands for. And the National Committee has given us that document to be able to use in whatever farming operations we're doing. So Ghana has adopted some of these things, but Nigeria, there's still a knowledge gap. There is no will to implement these avenues that we have to improve. So we could learn from Ghana. You know, Ghana is doing amazingly well. And we could borrow a thing or two. It's simple. Adopt this best practice. When I look at the document, it's not something so difficult. Do your soil certification, do your soil test, that's all. Get organic, certified organic product. You go to Nigeria Organic Association, you look at, they give you certification, you get your good seeds from, organized companies like, for example, if I want to, for Bayer seeds, Premier seeds, these are all certified seed companies. IITA, go to IITA, get your seeds. And when you do all of this and you are showing the market your process, transparency in the supply chain, then you are good to go. So I think Nigeria can do even much more than what these African countries like I mentioned. We cannot be left behind, So this is my take. There's so much to be done. Nigeria is actually going on the anti-clockwise movement when it comes to food security by 2030. All of the key indicators are showing that we are rather going backwards. So there need to be a complete awakening in terms of knowledge sharing, information sharing, and information dissemination across the key actors in the value chain. This is very crucial at this time.
Okay.
Thank you. Over to you now.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So, how can consumer awareness and demand for sustainable goods drive our exports to meet the required standard? Because we know right here in Nigeria, we need things like yam, we need cassava, we need our bean seeds also. These items are really required by the citizens in this country. So how do we, because locally we need to meet the required standard for the producers here and also the consumers of those food items before we think of exporting them. So how can consumer awareness be improved also to meet the required standard?
And like never before, consumers are becoming aware. Most consumers, they want to go green, they want to eat healthy. Food safety is becoming a common occurrence everywhere. There's food safety, there's consumers are beginning to demand, transparency, and the consumers are putting producers under intense pressure because they want to maintain their health, they want to ensure that the environment is safe. So there's more of consumer awareness. And this, for me, is going to put, the production actors on so much pressure for them to, what they call, become more accountable. There will be conformity to protocols, so which is a very good one. If you go to some of these our big supermarkets, you see consumers asking for a particular, sometimes they say they want organic-based products. They want to know what is in what you produce. So this is very important, and to go ahead to continue to help key actors, comply with best practice. So it's a good one. There's more awareness, especially with the advent of the internet, social media. The world has become a global village. It's so easy for information to spread across. So consumers are becoming more and more aware, and they are putting a lot of pressure on these key actors to produce on specification. So it's a good one. It's really going to help both our local consumption here and the other markets.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, but there are certain risks. I'm glad you have really explained to us the importance of Nigeria's meeting the required standard in the international markets. But there are certain risks associated with not addressing these issues. Like if for instance, but just assuming now, if we do not meet this required standard in the international market, so what are the consequences for our economy, for the farmers, for the producers of these items that need to be exported? How does it affect our GDP in the country? Because at the moment, we know that agro-produce is currently not contributing so much to the country's GDP. So how does this affect us in the long term?
Okay, thank you very much. There are key impact areas, about 7 key impact areas, like job creation, foreign exchange earnings, economic stability, environmental sustainability. These are some of the key impact areas that can be directly impacted by not following these standards. It's one thing for you to, your goods, your products be rejected in the market. Once that happens, you've lost employment. Work has been lost. I mean, capital is lost. Economic development is lost. And then, and a whole lot of all of some of these things. So it's very important that it's better for us to be more proactive than being reactive. So proactiveness calls for the fact that you look at the wealth creation in terms of job creation, in terms of environmental sustainability. We are being told that there's a threat on what we call climate lockdown. During the COVID, it was, business lockdown, but we are seeing a more threat coming, which is the climate lockdown. And once climate is locked down, agriculture suffers the highest when it comes to the climate. In fact, agriculture is impacted 49%, which is the highest of all of the other industries that's impacted by the climate. So when you don't produce, you just produce because you want to produce, it has a direct impact on the environment. And this is why it's even more important that we produce using best practices, not just because we want to sell abroad, but because we want the environment to be safe, we want our people to get employment, we want the standard of living of our people to improve, we want the GDP to also improve. Believe you me, like you said in your opening speech, Nigeria agriculture was a leading contributor to our GDP, and that was in the 70s. And we can still do that because we have the land, we have the manpower, we have the weather, we have the climate that supports good agriculture. So it's just left for us to be able to adopt these best protocols to scale. So this is what I can say regarding this. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Prince Joel Bissong. I have been discussing with Prince Joel Bissong how to reverse the rejection of Nigeria's agricultural produce in the international markets. And he has really explained a lot to us as to how we can reverse this unfortunate situation in the country. So it's been wonderful talking with you, Prince Joel Bissong. You have really enlightened me and our viewers as to how we can reverse this rejection. Thank you so much for joining us on this show today. And we wish you all the best with the agro business.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll go on a short break now.
God
we'll be back. Please stay tuned.
My name is Dr. Agility Obi.
My name is Etemere Glover.
Naomi, well done, and shout out to Souk News.
Shout out to Souk News. I want to encourage everyone to keep watching Souk News.
Shout out to Souk News, and yes, tune into them.
Keep watching Souk News. They are one in town.
Hey, we're watching Souk News.
Keep watching Souk News.
Keep watching Souk News. Catch them on YouTube and all social media channels.
Hey, my name is Frank Edowo, and I'm imploring you. No, forget that. I am forcing you, coercing you to always stay tuned to Souk News for your news requirements.
And welcome back to Market Insight. So, on the parallel market today, Naira is currently buying at Naira is currently buying dollars at 1,440 Naira and selling at 1,450 Naira. The Great British Pounds, the Naira is buying the Great British Pounds at 1,840 Naira and selling at 1,860 Naira. And the Naira is buying euros at 1,585 Naira and selling at 1,610 Naira. So that's your report on the parallel market today. So thank you so much for joining us on Market Insights. It was quite, as the show says, very insightful and explanatory with our guest, Prince Joel Bisong, on how to reverse Nigeria's fortunes in the international market, how to meet the required standard for our agro-produce products, and how to actually generate more GDP for the country. As we know, Nigeria is still the giant of Africa, which is what I believe, and we know that in future our agro-produce will definitely generate more income for the country. Will also generate more jobs for our citizens, for our young people in the country. So thank you so much for joining me today on Market Insights. I look forward to discussing more on our economy tomorrow. So please join us again. And my name is Lovina Emma. Stay tuned.